So Rudy fought the dragon god Orsted for the second time, and a lot of things happened after that. But if you guys don't know what happened, you can check out my 2 previous videos, because I have discussed everything in them. So now let's continue from where we left off. So after the reunion with Ariel, Rudy informs her about what happened with Orsted, and the possibility to search for the first king of Asura, to find the answer of the question that Perugius asked. So Orsted proposes to go to the book labyrinth, a place where a copy of every book of the world is made by a demon king. So this place is located in the demon continent, and they need to teleport there. Orsted gives Rudy a sketch of a specific book if he doesn't find the necessary information. The next day in the base of operation of Orsted, they find a magic circle in the basement. Those who are going are Rudy, Sylphiette, Luke, Ariel, Eris, and Ghislaine. So they use the magic circle, and then they appear in a room similar to the others' teleport rooms. Eris excitedly wants to explore, but she is stopped by Rudy. When they enter, they find hallways of books, arranged from oldest to newest, and in the center of the labyrinth, they find the Demon King Batobi, a huge slime with an eyeball that uses his tentacles to write the books. They avoid him, and decide to search for a book about the first king of Asura. Soon, they find a book, and in it, they read that he was the 3rd prince during the Laplace War. After his older brother and parent were killed, he became the next king of Asura. They also find that he have many achievements, but in the same time he wasn't perfect, and commonly he went to taverns, got drunk and fought. Rudy also finds magical books, and one of them is called The Powerless God. It has a way that can change the rules of the world, and can nullify the power of gods and abilities. Rudy thinks about how to remove curses, and how it may help Zenith and Orsted, so he takes notes from it to his diary. But then soon, Rudy realizes that one of the tentacles of the Demon King started a copy of his diary. So Rudy writes in his diary that he wants to have a conversation with the Demon King. And so the Demon King appears, because the future diary of Rudy was an interesting experience of an alternative future. The Demon King grant to Rudy a wish. Rudy shows him the sketch that Orsted drew, and the Demon Kings give him a book. And that book is the diary of Derek Redbat. So after reading his diary, Ariel finds the answer of being a king, and passes the diary to Luke. Later when they were leaving, the Demon King became angry because a tear of Luke damaged the diary, and he started to attack. So the group starts to run away, and they quickly leave the labyrinth. Soon, Ariel arranges an audience with Perugius to once again ask for his support. Perugius his question once again, what is the most important factor of a king? Ariel's answer is, to inherit wills, that is to be influenced by others. Perugius laughs at this answer and calls her a fool. Ariel stands her ground and admits she may be a fool. She declares that she intends to state her true feelings. She further states that if their ideals aren't compatible, then despite the fact that she wants his assistance, they may not be able to work well together. Perugius is impressed with Ariel's conviction and agrees to lend his support. So Ariel thanks Perugius and then leaves. But Rudy stays behind and asks Perugius if Ariel gave the correct answer. He confirms that Ariel's answer was wrong. However, the way Ariel carries herself reminds Perugius of his old friend Caunus from many years ago, who was called the Ideal King. Rudy asks Perugius, what is the Ideal King? But Perugius refuses to answer the question. Perugius asks why Rudy didn't bring up Orsted in Ariel's negotiations with him. Rudy thinks to himself that it's because he knows that Orsted had already asked Perugius himself to support Ariel, and he was also refused. But Rudeus gives a non-committal answer to Perugius, so Perugius calls him out on this and leaves. So Ariel, Luke, Sylphie, and Rudy plan their next steps. Ariel announces that she has heard the news of her father's illness. Rudy is surprised, as according to Orsted they had expected the news to come later. Rudy wonders if Ariel may be influenced by Hitagami. They then debate on the best way to travel to the Asura kingdom. Rudy suggests teleporting to a magic circle just outside the kingdom. The reason he offers up is to better hide the fact that they use teleportation magic. In his mind, the reason for this is to give him an excuse to track down Tristina, who will be key to taking down Darius, which will weaken the First Prince's faction. Sylphie, Luke, and Ariel all feel that they should instead directly teleport to Asura Kingdom to avoid the dangers associated with travel and avoid assassins and mercenaries. But one familiar of Perugius announces that all the magic teleportation circles inside Asura Kingdom have been destroyed, and so it is impossible to teleport directly into Asura Kingdom, and Rudy wonders who could have done this. Therefore, they are forced into Rudy's initial proposal, which is to teleport to a magic circle just outside the Asura Kingdom border. The magical beast Leo integrates himself into Rudy's family and acts as their guard dog. Meanwhile, Ghislaine confirms that Leo is from the Darudia tribe. Then Rudy, Cliff, and Zenoba meet to have dinner at a fancy restaurant. Cliff and Zenoba are concerned that Rudy is now working under Orsted. They feel that Orsted is too dangerous and cannot be trusted. Rudy tries to tell them the truth at first, that Orsted has a curse that causes others to fear and hate him. However, Cliff and Zenoba remain unconvinced. Rudy therefore lies and tells them that he actually plans to kill Orsted in the future, and so needs their help to upgrade the magic armor. Rudy also asks Cliff for help in reducing the power of Orsted's curse. Rudy lies by saying that the curse is like a barrier that weakens his opponents, and so Cliff and Zenoba agree to help Rudy. So while Rudy was drinking with his friends, Roxy, Sylphie, and Eris held a meeting. This is the 26th regular meeting between Roxy and Sylphie, but the first one for Eris. Roxy explains to Eris that the purpose of these meetings is to help their communication and dispel any feelings of envy. They all discuss how they came to meet Rudy and the history of their relationship with him. Lilia also joins them and reminisces on her past history with Rudy as well, and they all start drinking alcohol. Despite being pregnant, Elinalise joins them and starts drinking as well. Only Roxy doesn't drink as she is also pregnant, and later she casts detoxification magic on everyone once they all finish drinking. Then later Rudy meets Orsted. He reports that Ariel successfully persuaded Perugius, and he also told him the news that the magic circles to Asura Kingdom are broken. Orsted believes that the destruction of the magic teleportation circles was caused by Hitogami. Orsted further deduces that Hitogami's disciple must therefore be First Prince Grabble or Senior Minister Darius. This is because only people with great political influence can access and destroy the magic circles, as they are all well guarded by soldiers. Orsted reiterates that Luke is likely an apostle of Hitogami. He speculates that the third and last apostle is someone talented with the sword or magic. Based on this, he believes that the North Emperor Auber and water god Reida are likely candidates. Orsted tells Rudy that all the potential apostles of Hitogami, such as Darius, Auber, Reida, can be killed, while Luke should continue to be observed and killed if necessary. Then later, at home, Rudy and Sylphie announce to the family that they will be leaving for Asura Kingdom and will be gone for 3-4 months. Eris decided for herself that she would go as well. Norn and Aisha tease Rudy that he is likely to come back with another wife. Rudy wants to protest that this won't be the case, but he knows he no longer has any credibility on this matter. Rudy notes that since both he and Sylphie are leaving, they are leaving their daughter Lucy without any parents at home, so they leave Lucy for Lilia to raise. Since Roxy is staying behind at home, Rudy tries to spend more time with her before he leaves. They agree to name their future baby Rollo or Lara if the baby is a boy or girl respectively. So Ariel's group, including Sylphie, Luke, Elmore, Clean, Rudeus, Eris and Ghislaine, leave Sharia and is headed towards the Asura Kingdom to help make Ariel the king. They take a magic teleportation circle to Sky Castle of Perugius. After greeting Perugius, they take a magic circle that transports them to a ruin near the Red Dragon's upper jaw. As they are teleported, it is almost nighttime, so the group decides to rest near the road. Then, on Rudy's turn for night patrol, he goes into the forest and meets Orsted, who is following the group. Rudy reports on the events of the past few days, and Orsted advises that the forest of the Red Dragon's upper jaw is the most likely place for Darius to send soldiers to kill Ariel, as it is still within Asura Kingdom's jurisdiction, while being distant enough to avoid creating big news. They speculate that the North Emperor Auber Corvette is likely to appear there as well. Then they discuss the matter of Luke being an apostle. Orsted reveals that Hitogami can only reassign his apostles at certain turning points in the future. In this case, the turning point is when Ariel does or does not become queen. Until then, apostles cannot be swapped or changed, and any apostles that die cannot be replaced. Rudy is annoyed at not having received this crucial information earlier, but they finish their conversation, and Rudeus returns to camp. Next day, the group arrives at the forest of the Red Dragon's upper jaw, and according to Orsted, it is the most likely place to be ambushed. The group stops for a moment at the location where Ariel's group was ambushed when she was first fleeing Asura Kingdom to Renoa, and she pays her respects for the people that she lost that day. Then on the next day, the group is ambushed by a group of soldiers. Ghislaine, Eris, and Sylphie fight the group of soldiers. Meanwhile, Luke protects the carriage and Rudy fights in the rear. Using his eyes of foresight to monitor the situation, he is looking for and anticipating a surprise attack from Auber. But soon, the North King Wee Ta appears and challenges Ghislaine to a duel. He uses his polished armor to reflect the sun's light to periodically blind Ghislaine, and so Ghislaine struggles to fight Wee Ta. Rudy sees this and summons Mud Rain, therefore nullifying Wheata's strategy and allowing Ghislaine to take the opportunity and deal a serious injury to him. After helping Ghislaine, Rudy looks to the rear and unexpectedly finds that Albert has appeared from a hole in the road. Albert tries to kill Rudy, but Rudy repelled his attack. Albert and Rudy briefly fight, and when Ghislaine, Eris, Sylphie arrive to support Rudy, Albert and his group decide to retreat. Then Luke stares in disbelief as he sees that the soldiers they just fought have the Millbot's crest, meaning that his father Pyleman Nodos Greyrat has betrayed Ariel and his father is now their enemy. So Luke is in disbelief at the fact that his father betrayed Ariel. Ariel, in contrast, had fully expected this. So because Albert and his group may continue to ambush them, Rudy proposes that they try to smuggle themselves into the country. By doing this, Rudy thinks to himself that he would also be able to complete one of his objectives, which is to find Tristina. Luke voices out loud that he feels Rudy's recent actions were strange, and that he doesn't trust him. Luke suggests to Ariel to retreat temporarily, and to ask for further reinforcements from Perugius. However, Ariel decides to follow Rudy's plan, so they change their course to find smuggling bandits. Later, during Rudy's turn for night patrol, he meets Orsted again. They talk about recent events. They are now more certain than ever that Luke is an apostle, but they agree to leave him alone for now. After returning to camp, Rudy finds that Ariel is up and awake. She asks him to accompany her on a walk in the woods. After entering the forest, Rudy and Ariel sit on a trunk and start with some trivial small talk. Suddenly, Ariel brings up Luke and the fact that she believes that he is betraying them. Rudy says that he is probably being manipulated, but he hesitates to reveal that Hitogami is behind this. Ariel requests to meet Orsted to understand why he is helping her, but before Rudy can give an answer, Orsted appears behind them. Even after being affected by Orsted's curse, Ariel regains her composure, and they start to talk. Orsted explains that a being called Hitogami is his enemy, and is currently siding with Darius and Grabble, who is the first prince. Orsted reveals that 100 years into the future, if Grabble becomes king, it leads to events where the kingdom of Asura will fall. But if Ariel becomes king, the kingdom will survive. Orsted reveals that Hitogami wants Asura kingdom to perish because the person who will defeat him is born in Asura kingdom. Ariel also learns that there are only 3 Hitogami apostles at one time, and that Luke, Darius, and either the North Emperor Albert or Water God Reida are the current candidates. So after hearing and understanding everything, Ariel decides to become Orsted's subordinate. On the next day, the group enters the territory of the Band of Thieves, where they are surrounded by bandits, and their leader appears. Using code phrases learned from Orsted, Rudy indicates that he wants their group to be smuggled and to meet Tristina. They arrive at a hut, and the group rests while they wait for Tristina. Some hours later, Tristina arrives. Rudy engages with her, but she comes across as guarded and suspicious. Thinking to himself, Rudy tries to come up with a plan to gain her trust over time and slowly reveal their group's goal to overthrow Darius. Ariel sees Tristina and instead goes for the straightforward approach. She identifies Tristina as Tristina Purplehorse, a noble daughter that she met several years ago. Tristina also recognizes Ariel and immediately lets her guard down. Ariel asks about the fact that Tristina had gone missing and how she came to be a bandit. Tristina reviews her life story, starting with how she was kidnapped and became a sex slave for Darius. She was then sold to bandits to become their boss's concubine, then trained as a thief, and then became a free woman when the boss changed. After hearing her story, Ariel promises to exact revenge on Darius on Tristina's behalf. Ariel asks Tristina to testify against Darius about being his sex slave. Tristina accepts the offer and joins their group. Rudy looks at this exchange in admiration at how Ariel was able to skillfully and easily get Tristina on their side. The next day, they are led by Tristina, and they arrive at a lake and a cliff with a secret cave. After several hours of walking through its labyrinthine tunnels, they leave the cave and arrive in Asura Kingdom territory. As the group passes by the Fitoa region, Rudy, Sylphie, and Eris reminisce about the past. The group then arrives at a town named Ricket, which connects to the Asura capital. They stop at an inn associated with the Thief Guild to rest, and Tristina goes out to gather information. Tristina returns and goes to deliver her news to Ariel, while Rudy and Ghislaine are on guard duty. Rudy then hears some arguing in Ariel's room and goes to investigate. He enters the room to find Ariel and Luke arguing. Rudy learns that Triss has confirmed that Philemon was one of the culprits in the execution of Sauros, and that Ariel will keep her promise with Ghislaine to kill him. Luke is angry as he still believes that Rudy is aiming to take over the Nodos Greyrat house. Ariel states that after taking power, she has no intention of granting nobility to Rudy, which Rudy is grateful for since he had no intention of accepting such a position. The next day, Luke admits that he did indeed receive advice from Hitogami. The advice was a warning of Rudy's betrayal, that Rudy's goal is to be lord of Notice Grey Rat House, and that he will defect to Darius's side, and that all of his actions and the events that occurred to the group are the results of his scheming. Days later, with Luke still hostile against Rudy, they arrive at the capital city Ars. The group goes to Ariel's second house within Asura, which will be their base. As they travel through the commoner district, they see that Ariel is still popular with the common people. When they enter the nobles district, a soldier runs up to them. They reveal themselves to be Isolte, one of Eris's acquaintances from the Holy Land of the Sword, and they chat for a bit. The group then arrives at Ariel's second house. Ariel says that she needs 10 days to gather her allies and prepare her venue to take down Darius and the First Prince's faction. They decide to use Sylphie disguised as Ariel as bait to draw in the enemy, giving them an opportunity to launch their attacks to reduce the enemy's forces. So Ariel works on her preparations to gather her allies. Meanwhile, their group is frequently attacked by assassins targeting Sylphie, who is impersonating Ariel, while the real Ariel hides as a maid. Then at one party, Luke meets his father Philemon. They discuss why he betrayed Ariel, and Luke pleads for him to return to Ariel's faction, but Philemon refuses. Then on day 9, preparations for the venue have been completed. Their plan is for Ariel to host a party, with all the major nobles of Asura in attendance, where she will announce that Perugius is supporting her, and reveal Darius's crimes to the other nobles to guarantee her ascension to the throne. That evening, as the group returns to their base, an assailant blocks the road and announces himself as the North King Twin Swords, a pair of swordsmen who are twins, so Eris decides to fight them. Meanwhile, Ta appears with black armor and confronts Ghislaine for a rematch. So while they fight, Rudy searches for Auber, who he suspects is waiting for a surprise attack. Using his spirits of light, Rudy notices a strange cloth on the side of one of the stone walls, and without hesitation fires a stone cannon. It was Auber, and he was able to evade the attack, but his leg was pierced, which severely limited his mobility. Eris defeats the twin swordsman Knuckleguard, though she suffers a major injury to her arm, and Ghislaine overwhelms Ta thanks to her great night vision. Ta then throws a smokescreen and tries to attack the carriage while hoping to find Ariel. However, Sylphie was inside instead, and she counters with a flame tornado, which clears the smokescreen and illuminates their surrounding. They see Auber escape using his pair of claws to climb up the wall, and soon he disappears. They see Ta trying to escape in an alley, but they decide to pursue and finish off Ta. Rudy chases Ta into an alleyway, but he finds him already dead with a hole in his chest. Rudy quickly realizes that the wound was made by Orsted. The others assume the wound was caused by a stone cannon from Rudy, as no one but himself is aware that Orsted is helping them. And even though Auber escaped, their group's plan to reduce the enemy's strength was a success, as 2 North Kings were killed. So several important nobles, including the leaders of the Boreas and Nodos House, Senior Minister Darius arrive at Ariel's party. When the party begins, Ariel introduces Tristina to everyone in attendance as the long-lost Tristina Purple Horse. Tristina recounts her life story to all the nobles, from how she was betrayed by her family and sold to become Darius's sex slave, to how she became associated with a band of thieves and regained her freedom, leaving out the fact that she also became a thief herself to avoid tarnishing her reputation. Darius accuses Tristina of being fake and brings in the head of the Purple Horse House, who is Tristina's father. However, Ariel had anticipated this and had already contacted the Purple Horse family, and the head of the Purple Horse House confirms that Tristina is indeed real and claims that she was stolen away by Darius. With this, Darius's reputation is badly damaged. So the first Prince Grabble then arrives at the party. He states that Darius should not be punished despite his crimes, as he is an important player in running Asura Kingdom. He calls for a vote among all the nobles in attendance, asking them to confirm their allegiance to him and Darius, or Ariel. Before the vote commences, Ariel announces she has one more person to introduce. The nobles see the sky castle floating in the night sky, and Perugius makes his entrance, along with his 12 familiars. Upon his entrance, it is clear that he is very well respected among the nobles of Asura, as he commands more respect than even Ariel or Grabble. Grabble offers Perugius the highest-ranking seat among the 3 seats of honor. Perugius politely declines and offers it to Ariel instead, making clear to everyone that it is Ariel whom he supports. So just as Rudy was thinking that everything was going well for them, something falls from the ceiling to interrupt the party, and it is revealed to be water god Reida, who has come to support Darius. So water god Reida has a sword technique that allows her to kill all opponents within a certain radius around her when they move even the smallest of muscles. With this, she easily kills 2 of Perugius's familiars. Rudy understands that the situation is out of hand, and he can't do anything, so he sent mana to the ring on his finger which contacts Orsted. No one else dares to move anymore for fear of being instantly killed, including Rudy, Ghislaine, and Eris. So Reida then commands Auber to kill Ariel and finish the job they were hired for. Suddenly, apprentice knights appear including Isolde. Isolde demands her master to tell her what is going on. Reida states that she intends to murder Ariel and then intends to let herself die at the hands of Isolde, who will become a hero and carry on the water god style. As this happens, Rudy tries to come up with a plan to save Ariel from Auber without being attacked by Reida. He considers using electric magic to attack Reida and Auber simultaneously, but then suddenly, the air changes and everyone senses Orsted's presence approaching. At Reida's instructions, Auber grabs Darius and runs away. Reida begins to explain her motivations, and she reveals that as a child, Darius saved her from having her hands cut off by a mob, and therefore she feels she owes him her life. She had forgotten about this for many years until recently, when she had a revelation in a dream, which told her to come back to the royal palace, where she could return the favor to Darius. With this, it's confirmed that she is an apostle of Hitogami. So Orsted then arrives and promptly kills her with a single strike. With Reida dead, Rudy, Ghislaine, and Eris are now free to move. They chase after and quickly catch up to Darius and Auber. Darius mutters in frustration at this turn of events. He reveals that he was told by Hitogami to destroy the magic teleportation portals and recall Auber to the capital to protect himself from Rudy. Darius tries to negotiate with Eris and Ghislaine by claiming that he has been helping the Boreas house rebuild the Fitoa territory. However, he also reveals that he directly led to the death of Sauros. Eris and Ghislaine therefore resolve themselves to kill him. Seeing that negotiations have failed, Auber launches an attack. Auber is able to badly damage Rudy's leg. He almost cut it clean off, and he stabs Eris in the abdomen with a poisoned kunai, but he also receives an arm injury from Ghislaine. Rudy then launches an exploding stone cannon at Darius. Although Auber blocks the rock bullet, its fragments blind Darius and distracts Auber. With that opening, Eris damages Auber's other arm and Ghislaine lands a killing blow. The battle is over, and Ghislaine then kills Darius. Rudy heals all their injuries, and they cure Eris's poisoning with the antidote Orsted told Rudy Auber kept on him to treat that poison he carries as well. So they head back to the party venue and are greeted with an unexpected sight. They see Luke holding a dagger against Ariel's neck. So a few minutes prior, after Orsted had killed Reida and left, Luke convinced himself that Orsted is evil. Philemon then bows to Ariel and claims he only pretended to betray her. Ariel is angry at this bold-faced lie as she knows Philemon sent assassins to kill her. She tells him to have some pride and at least admit his betrayal. Ariel sentences Philemon to be executed right there and asks for Luke's sword. Luke experiences mixed feelings about his father. On one hand, Philemon had protected Ariel all those years until his betrayal, and although he was never close with his father, he didn't hold any bad feelings toward him either. Without thinking clearly, Luke holds his sword to Ariel's neck. Luke also continues to be extremely suspicious of Orsted. He voices his concern at Rudy being Orsted's subordinate and asks Sylphie if she trusts Orsted. Sylphie confirms she doesn't trust Orsted, but she trusts Rudy. Then Rudy enters the venue and while still holding his sword to Ariel's throat, he asks Sylphie who she would choose to save, Ariel or Rudy. Sylphie chooses Rudy without hesitation, and Luke then regains his senses and releases Ariel. He continues to distrust Orsted, but he decides to support Ariel regardless. He braces himself for execution for his betrayal, but Ariel forgives him. Ariel decides not to execute Philemon, as he was just a pawn in Darius's game. And with Eris's encouragement, Ghislaine reluctantly agrees with this decision. Meanwhile, Perugius watched this entire exchange in amusement. Grable remained seated in his chair, and he was shocked and exhausted, as his strongest backer was now dead. Later, Philemon is stripped of his position and placed under house arrest, while Luke becomes the Nodos Grey Rat family's head. So after all this messed up stuff, Rudy goes to meet Orsted, and they discuss about their future plans, and it was at this point that Orsted reveals something very shocking to Rudeus about his future, his identity, and his true goal. and I'm going to discuss all that stuff in the next part of this video. So if you guys enjoyed this video, then make sure to subscribe to this channel for more video like this.